Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about South Asian flash flood guidance system. So flash flood has become very frequent because of the climate change, because of the industrialization, urbanization and other factors which has led to it. Now because its frequency has increased, the need has been felt that a guidance system should exist to provide early warning so that the people could be warned and we could have risk mitigation systems in place. So hence the South Asian flash flood guidance system has been put in place. So let's start and understand what it is all about. So recently the Indian Meteorological Department has launched the system which is aimed at helping disaster management teams and government make timely evacuation plan ahead of the actual event of flooding. So before the flooding could take place, so that the planning and the mitigation program, or what you can say, the precautionary plans could get into motion by the disaster management team, Indian Meteorological Department has came up with the idea of South Asian flash flood guidance system. A dedicated system center will be established in New Delhi. So it's will be operated from the center at New Delhi, where the weather modeling, analysis of rainfall data, observation from member countries will be done. So it's not only the data from India would be analyzed over here, but even the neighboring countries will also pour in data and it will be analyzed in the New Delhi. So remember the word, it is South Asian. It is not only for India, it will be helpful to even our neighboring countries. So this point you could even mention in your international relation answer, that how India has an influence over the South Asian region. So that is one thing that you could make a note of. Let's move forward and try to understand what flash floods are actually. So these are the sudden surges in water level during or following an intense spell of rain. So basically what happened, there has been a heavy downpour and suddenly there is a surge in the water level surrounding the area, in the sea level, in the groundwater. So there is basically sudden surges of water because of the intensive spell of rainfall. So these such kind of phenomena leads to the occurrence of flash floods. These are highly localized event of short duration with a very high peak and usually have less than 6 hours between the occurrence of the rainfall and the peak flood. Now there are few key terms you need to remember over here. First of all, it is highly localized. So it's not like the flash flood would occur in entire state, like your entire Maharashtra would not be suffering from flash flood for an example, but it is highly localized event. Then the another keyword that you need to remember is it is for a short duration. It's not like it going to exist for days and days or weeks in the sequence. It will be a short duration thing and it will be followed with a very high peak. So the surge is also not like few centimeter or meter, whatever be the measuring instrument, but it's a high peak. It's actually a huge difference when the water level is rising. So these are the few keywords you need to take in consideration with your how you are defining the flash floods. The flood situation versus in the presence of choked drainage line or encroachment obstructing the natural flow of water. Now why flash flood has become so prominent and such troublesome for the urban settlement is because of the problem of concretization. So if you see, everywhere the cemented road has been created, more structure has been created. In fact, the natural drainage, they have been like filled up and new apartment complexes have been built up over there, and because of which the natural drainage system which used to take the water of rainfall out of the the whole city and get the seep in and recharge the groundwater has become impaled, and because of it the occurrence of flash flood has also increased. So that is also one of the reason you need to remember. Now, let's also try to understand what kind of things it leads to. So, forecasting flash flood is very difficult as an event can occur within 3 or 6 hours and the water runoff quality is very high. So, that is why actually it is very important that as a precautionary measure we know when it could happen, because once the flash flood is there, forecasting it is actually very difficult because it can occur in a very short duration of time. Frequency of extreme rainfall event has increased due to climate change, and South Asia is highly prone to flash flood. This I have already talked about, that because of the various phenomena of climate change, and climate change which has been triggered by the industrialization, urbanization, all these things have kind of made it a cocktail which has made it the perfect situation for flash floods to occur. Data suggests that across the world, about 5,000 people die annually due to flash flood. Now, this is a huge number. Due to one disaster, if annually 5,000 people are dying, there is a need to find better policy, or we have to figure out better warning and mitigation system for that. Despite such high mortality, there was no robust forecasting or warning system for flash flood. Now, this is something which the IMD with now its guided system would be able to fill the gap, because even though with such high mortality, there was no guiding system so far. Like in the case of cyclones, we already have early warning system for tsunami, but for flash flood, there was no such guided system. So this one is one of the like step in the right direction to provide forewarning so that the people could evacuate. Now let's also try to understand about this guidance system in particular. So it has been developed by US based Hydrological Research Center. Now remember, it is US based Hydrological Research Center which has developed it. After the World Meteorological Organization and few South Asian countries put forth their views and the urgent need for such a warning system. Now this is what you have to remember, that even though its headquarters is at New Delhi, this is not developed by the Indian company, but it is developed by a US based Hydrological Research Center, and on the demand of South Asian countries, because they were the one who were vulnerable towards the flash floods. Flash flood threat warning will be issued 6 hours in advance, whereas flood risk warning will be issued 24 hours in advance. So this is something, because as mentioned in the previous slide, predicting or forecasting flash flood is quite tricky, and because of it, it is difficult to forecast it like a length of time beforehand, but at least 6 hours forewarning would be provided, while in the case of flooding, it will be 24 hours. Warning about watershed level will be issued 12 hours in advance. So this is how it's gonna be, that the flood warning will be for 24 hours, like before the flood, 24 hours before that you will get the warning. Then for the watershed level, what is going to be the watershed level, you will get that warning like 12 hours before, and for flash flood you will get the warning 6 hours before. So this is how the system going to be in the South Asian flash flood guidance system. Now finally, let's also try to understand what is India's role in overall system. So India is leading the delegation of nations including Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Nepal, and is sharing hydrological and meteorological data towards preparing flash flood forecast. So this is something which is like India is kind of spearheading the whole program. India's National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) and the Central Water Commission partnered is developing the system. So these two authorities are the one who are working in collaboration and developing the whole system, providing the data for analysis and so on. So these are the major things where India is trying to put in efforts in able to provide proper warning system in the whole of South Asian countries. So this is something that you need to know. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.